Just a minute. Alrighty, looks like we are live. Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Wellness Wednesday. I hope everyone is doing absolutely amazing. For those of you who don't know who I am, because we have so many new members, my name is Brittany. I am the owner of Fresh and Fit Nutrition. I am a holistic nutritionist, and I am super excited today to bring you our featured practitioner of the week, Miss Ann Jones. If you are here with us live, say hello, drop us a hashtag live. Let's get us going in the algorithm. We are going to be talking about Ann's story, how her son is dealing with autism and how she has improved his health holistically. And then we're going to talk about how energy healing can help with some of the common chronic diseases that so many people are facing. And Chris should be joining us here soon. Hi, Anne. How are you today? Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Brittany. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and anybody who's catching the replay.
I'm really excited to hear kind of your journey and hear more about like your story of being this mom and having an autistic child and kind of what you've done to greatly what you were just telling me, right? Like make these great improvements in his health. So how did you kind of get on this, holistic journey, this energy healing? How did that all happen?
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey. So my son, I have two boys. My older Troy is 7, and my younger Tristan is 5. And Tristan was diagnosed with autism when he was about 20 months. And we really struggled with the problematic symptoms that were associated with autism, like the inability to communicate. There was a point where he was learning words and was able to speak. And then, unfortunately, regression happened. He went back to babbling and then just, lost the desire to even try to speak. And he really was struggling internally, which I had no understanding of. So we saw a lot of outbursts and temper tantrums, which I now understand were linked to the food that I was feeding him. But unfortunately, in the world of modern medicine, it seems like there was not a lot of understanding about nutrition and diet and how it corresponds to the internal damage that autistic children face with their digestive systems and inflammation and all of that. So I spent um, I spent some time in that world, the world of ABA therapy, kind of being told by his doctors and developmental pediatrician that this was our only hope. Autism is a disorder of the brain, and the best we're going to do is get him many hours a week of ABA therapy, where we're going to force your child to fit into what society's standard of normal may be. That did not go well for us when he was in therapy. Just regression, regression, regression. And then the pandemic shut all of that down. And just that alone, and not having such an intensive schedule where we had some form of therapy every single day of the week. I was dropping my older son off at preschool, and we were just running like crazy: speech therapy, occupational therapy, ABA therapy, play sessions, play groups, just trying to get him to socialize in any which way, when my child was like screaming out to me like, "Mommy, like I'm uncomfortable, like help me," but I just, the awareness wasn't there, unfortunately. Um, and I was struggling with my own chronic health issues. And in July of 2020, somebody recommended that I do a heavy metal detox on myself. And I had never heard of a heavy metal detox before, but I had heard of a link between heavy metals and autism. So I immediately Googled that, heavy metal detox and autism. And I found many, many stories of mothers who claimed that their child had naturally recovered and improved from autism. And some of them were not even diagnosed with autism anymore. And in reading those stories, I thought to myself, this is going to be my child. Like, I am going to stop at nothing to help him recover and help him to heal. I had not heard of a functional nutrition or an integrative medicine doctor at this point. All I knew was that my experience with Tristan's doctors was not positive, and I didn't feel I really had anywhere to turn. That's actually how I ended up in your group, Holistic Health and Wellness, just trying to connect with others who knew more about this, because it was very scary to do a heavy metal detox on a 2-year-old who couldn't communicate with me. So I spent the summer into the fall of 2020 just in this frantic search for research, learning everything I could about the internal components of autism, learning about their damaged digestive systems and how to heal it. So we did a primarily plant-based diet, organic. We cut out gluten, glyphosate in particular was like of major concern to me. We cut out dairy because of the effects that that has on the brain and anything that would cause inflammation. And very quickly, I started to notice an improvement in him. Within 3 days of cutting gluten and dairy from our diet, I saw a decrease in temper tantrums. I saw his eye contact start to return, and then his speech started to come back a little bit. And that to me was really like the miracle that I needed to kind of thrust me forward on this journey, because making these changes from somebody who had always followed a standard American diet, and I myself having been under doctor's care since I was 9 years old for my own chronic health issues, it was just, you know, I can't believe like I'm doing this with food. So then starting to learn more about supplements and how certain supplements are just like key components of healing autism, like a B complex. Most autistic children are deficient in B12 vitamins because their digestive systems are so damaged. They're not able to absorb vitamins like an average child. And the symptoms of a B12 deficiency actually mimic the symptoms of autism. And just delving further and further into that world, there was a point where I had him on between like 8 to 12 different supplements on and off. And then a year into our journey, I was able to connect with a functional nutritionist who was like, I'm so impressed with your research. Like, you have everything correct. There's nothing I would change except that I would quadruple the dosage of fish oil that you're giving him. So that was really incredible. And as I changed Tristan's diet and lifestyle, I changed for my whole family. And I saw my own chronic health issues just start to disappear. And I didn't have that belief or hope for myself. Like, I had just been programmed to believe I was going to be on prescription pills forever. I was going to live with some sort of chronic pain, chronic illness. I had to make my plans on like a day-by-day basis based on how do I feel in the morning? How do I feel in the afternoon? And come 2 o'clock, I was pretty much exhausted from all of the pills that I was on. And then that kind of opened the door to me for the spiritual healing aspect of things, which is where I'm at in my journey right now. I've had like an interest in yoga and Reiki for quite some time for myself, for my own struggles with depression, anxiety, and CPTSD from childhood trauma. And then I started learning about shamanism, which is basically the ancient wisdom that you can find within the core of all religions before they were kind of changed by man for whatever reason. So with Tristan in December of 2021, I started utilizing some shamanic cleansing techniques, started doing some Reiki to work and balance his chakras, because in autistic children, oftentimes they're not very grounded, right? They seem like kind of like spaced out, like they're on another planet. So really working with his root chakra, spending a lot of time in nature, spending a lot of time in grounding, learning the science behind different crystals that would help in that aspect was one area where I started. And then just working on, balancing, cleansing ancestral trauma, moving up to his throat chakra. And it kind of all culminated for us in, the only way I can describe it is like a miraculous healing. I had read this story in May about this boy who was severely autistic, and his parents spent 3 years from the age of 5 to the age of 8 traveling the world, working with different shaman and different shamanic healing techniques. They ended up writing a book about it called The Horse Boy. I think it was made into a movie. But there was one specific shaman, or he actually calls himself a medicine man, who stood out to me just because he was located in Arizona. And I've always felt called to go to Arizona. I really want to visit Sedona. So I tried to.
I'm only like an hour and a half away from Sedona.
Oh, yay, yay. Well, when I'm there, I'm going to reach out to you.
I love it up there. It's so
in my future. Yeah. It looks incredible. Ever since I've like heard about it and learned about it in the vortex, I'm just like, yeah, I have to get here.
It's a very powerful place for sure. I love it up there.
Yeah, amazing. Awesome. So yeah, this one medicine man, he stood out to me. I tried doing a Google search, nothing showed up. And I thought to myself, okay, well, when I have a date, when I'm actually going to be in Arizona, then I'll resume this search. I have some people I could reach out to. Maybe I'll reach out to the person who wrote this article. And I'd love to like meet him and learn about his healing techniques, especially to bring back into my own community. Because at that point, Tristan was doing pretty well. The one thing that we were waiting on was for his speech to come in. And it was starting to bother me because up until that point, he really didn't have an interest in interacting with other children. Like we would go to a playground, Troy would play with the other kids, and Tristan would just hang out with me. And he was fine with that. And then I started to notice he's trying to interact with other children. He's trying to make friends. And it's not happening because of the language barrier. Like the kids aren't taking the time to try to figure out how to interact with him because he's very different. So like as a mother, that was like weighing heavily on my heart. So yeah, I kind of like put it to the back of my mind and was like, well, maybe someday in the future, I'm going to figure this out and meet this man. And I live in a very, very rural part of New York. And there happens to be a shaman there who is just an incredible teacher. He's building community, teaching about sustainable agriculture, teaching about trauma healing, and like the ancient wisdom that I'm super interested in. And about a month or two after I had read this article, he sends out information for a 3-day retreat that he was doing where he was going to bring in a Navajo elder who is considered one of the most renowned medicine men in all of the world. It's very impressive, like how he teaches, how he can trace his lineage back, and just how spiritually gifted he is. And the only reason he's leaving the reservation to teach white man after 80 years is because the Navajo language is being lost so quickly, and there aren't other words that are the equivalent of many Navajo words. So a lot of their wisdom about these healing techniques is being lost and going to be lost. So we wanted to share with people who are interested in learning. So I'm like, okay, I'm 100% going to this. I go to bed. The next morning, I wake up and I go to email him that I definitely want to come, like, save me a spot. And I'm rereading all of this information, and I notice that this medicine man has the same name as the person I had done the Google search for, and he was coming from Arizona. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, is this the same guy? And it turned out that it was. So
amazing. Like,
yes,
that's literally like meant to be.
yeah, truly. Like, I think that it was my belief in, like, this miracle is going to happen for us in some way, shape, or form, where it's like I had brought my child as far as I possibly could, you know, through healing the body, healing his brain, through diet, nutrition, supplements, and just like unconditional love, where I needed that extra, like, spiritual healing component to, like, thrust him to the next level. So a few days before the event, we all got an email that if anybody was, like, struggling with severe illness, that we could volunteer to have this medicine man do a healing session on us. He wanted to demonstrate his techniques. So it was, like, really, like, outside of my comfort zone. I was like, well, you know, my struggles with Tristan, they're really not that bad compared to, like, what I see my friends dealing with. Like, I don't know if I want to ask for, like, that space. But I was like, you know what, I'm not doing this for myself. I'm doing it for my child. So I sent the email and I was like, if there's any way he would possibly do a healing session with Tristan, like, I would be totally open to that. I have complete trust in you guys. And the night before, he emailed me and was like, well, can you bring him to the Sweat Lodge ceremony tomorrow? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. The healing session was just like something beyond your wildest dreams. Like, I had read about this person, this man's methods in the books about him. Nothing could have prepared me for what I saw and what I experienced. Like, if there was any question in my mind that, like, magic is real, it eliminated it. There was a point where I almost, like, blacked out, and somebody, like, came over to kind of support me. And just such an incredible experience. I have so much gratitude for the 19 other souls that were there. It was a 3-day event, and the first day, it was like everybody put aside their reason for being there, you know, their own healing journey when they met my son. And, like, I knew that they were all praying for his healing. Like, we had never felt so loved and supported. We were out there for 8.5 hours. Tristan did not want to leave. He wanted to come back with me the following day. That's not really like him. There's also a forest school there that we go to once in a while. And within an hour and a half, 2 hours, like, he's ready to go, you know? But just having all these people who are just, like, so openly accepting of him and, like, wanting to make a difference in his life, I think, you know, really encouraged and drew in this miracle for us. So after the healing session, it was like 8 days of, oh, wow, like, he is talking more, he's singing more. But we've had periods of growth and development, and I've always been super grateful for them. And then on the 9th day, it was just a language explosion happened. He started singing songs off of the radio, just repeating, like, everything I would say. And the look on his face was just so, like, I could, like, tear up just thinking about it, because it's like you could tell he was thinking like, oh my gosh, like my voice is coming back, you know, like for years I've been, why can't I communicate? And now like I could see in his eyes like that he just knew like his life was going to get easier and better, and like that final obstacle that he had been facing had been removed for him. So it's truly just been so incredible. I'm just so grateful we had that experience, and yeah, just like true magic.
That is so fun. I'm over here tearing up. Like, I just can't imagine being a mom and like seeing your child suffer like that and doing, you know, all the things that conventional, medicine basically tells you to do. And it really gives you no hope of them getting better ever.
Yeah.
But we know, I mean, you found out through your research, right? There are lots of mamas out there like you trying to figure out these other things and improving their children's health and well-being with food as medicine and with supplementation. And we know that these heavy metals, they're very present in autistic children's brains. We know that their gut microbiome is like super out of whack, and once you balance those out, it can help a lot. But then being in the holistic realm, we also understand that there is absolutely a spiritual component. And trauma, whether that's it might not have been his trauma, right? It could have been ancestral trauma, it could have been a number of things that we all deal with. And that energy work is so powerful in healing our bodies. Like I love that how that was just meant to be, and him coming up all the way to New York from Arizona. Like that's just, tell me that's not divine intervention right there. You have been
Yeah.
hoping and praying for this. And that's another thing for you guys too. Like our thoughts and our words are so powerful. If you say there's no hope, you're never going to have hope. But if you 100% truly believe that there is going to be healing, there is going to be, another way, it will happen. It will absolutely happen. But our thoughts are so powerful with that. And you knew without a doubt in your mind that you were going to heal your child, and he's healing.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
process. It's a process for, everything. But that's just amazing. What do you think, Chris?
That's I gonna kind of hop on board with you. It's really amazing from many levels, from what you started off with and to where you are now with. Shows very, very emotional, like you were saying, Brittany. Just to hear it and even experience it firsthand, it's really amazing what the body can do when present with the right conditions, such as removing toxic metals, the emotional aspect, the spirituality, and so forth. That's really powerful, and it shows what's possible for all of us, which is really great too.
Absolutely. Jill says that you need to share this story on the high wire.
I love that. And that's like a big part of what I've been trying to do. And I'm definitely like newer to social media, and like I said, we live in a very rural part of the country. We spend a lot of time in nature, and the more technology that I'm exposed to, like the more like antsy and like kind of anxious, and like the more grounding I need to do. So really, it actually wasn't until I want to say maybe like 2 days after this retreat that I did, that I had taken like a social media break for a few months. And I was like, okay, like now it's time to get back on, because like I feel called, like I feel like God is telling me that I need to start sharing Tristan's story so that I can inspire other mothers who are where I was 2.5 years ago, kind of stuck in this system where you think that there is no hope, and you are banging your head off the wall, not getting the answers you need, oftentimes seeing your child regress. Tristan is also homeschooled or unschooled, which again, his developmental pediatrician flat out said this is a disservice to the child. He needs to be in school where he's going to be getting therapy. And like I have a background in education. I actually have a master's degree in special education. I was an elementary school teacher, but I know what goes on in an autistic support classroom, and I see the fluorescent lights, and I hear the loud noise in the hallway and the loud noise in the cafeteria. And I see sometimes these children are able to walk around with like the earphones on to muffle the noise, and some of them just can't handle it. And God forbid there's a fire drill once a month. I think that that is a disservice to autistic children. And that's just my opinion as a mother. You know, I am very, very grateful that I have the opportunity to keep him at home with me. And we don't do any ABA therapy. I do alternative therapy like equine therapy, somatic, dance type therapy. And oftentimes I'll do like a 6-week session because it's expensive and I have to pay for it. Insurance doesn't cover it. So oftentimes I'll do it for 6 or 8 weeks and work with the therapist to learn everything I can so that I can then continue to implement it into our lives on a regular basis. But yeah, like just sharing our story, I feel is at the very, very least going to plant the seed in other moms and dads, parents, caregivers that natural recovery is possible. If this resonates with you, you're meant to take this journey with your child. There are going to be challenging moments. It's not going to be super easy in the beginning, but is 100% worth it to make the switch and follow your own intuition. You know, like if I could give anybody that advice, like I feel like that was a place where like I really messed up, was like my intuition was just like, stop, no, go, get him out of this doctor's office. But I was like, no, Anne, like you're being crazy. Like this doctor has 10 years of medical school. Like you have to listen to him. And, you know, that's a big issue in our society is so many of us hand our power over to the doctors who they just don't have the understanding of nutrition. You know, I think a large part of medical school is funded by big pharma. So they're learning the studies that big pharma does on medications and whatnot. And they're not learning what they need to learn about diet and nutrition and how that can actually heal the body as opposed to possibly masking problematic symptoms that, you know, they don't want to deal with in a school setting or a public setting. But again, you're not actually healing your child. And in my opinion, like it would be a very, very last resort for me to medicate my child because their liver and their body has to process all of that. And we know that they have very weak detoxification pathways. So to put a synthetic drug into them seems counterproductive to me.
Absolutely. I've had this argument before. She's not in the group, so I can say it, but like my aunt, she was a special education teacher for a long time, and now she has a pretty prominent position where she goes around the country teaching other, you know, teachers about autism. And I had several years ago, I had mentioned, you know, when I started getting into, you know, holistic health and all of these things, I started talking about, you know, how, you know, jabs and glyphosate and things like that are contributing to this, and you know how we've seen this dramatic increase in autism. And she tried to argue with me, and I was like, you know, I'm not going to argue, you know, but I know in my heart that's my belief. There's a reason for this. It's these heavy metals, it's these toxins, it's, you know, all of this stuff is contributing to this huge increase in autism. I mean, what you might know better than me, what are they saying by like, I think like 2050, like almost half of boys.
Whoa.
If we keep going at the rate that we are, it's something like that. I mean, I might be off, but it's something incredible like that. It's a pretty scary statistic.
It is. It's a very startling statistic. And I'm actually planning on doing either like a wellness talk or making a video about this, like in the very, very near future, like hopefully in the next couple of days, because I just listened to a podcast. I subscribe to this website, naturallyrecoveringautism.com. And it's a woman who is I might get the word wrong, a cranial sacral therapist or something like that. She works with the brain, I think, by like massaging different parts of the skull. And her son was diagnosed with autism maybe like 20 years ago, before we had all of this research. And again, she was told basically like there's not going to be a lot of hope. I think she may have actually been told she should institutionalize her child. And she said that just from knowing and understanding how the brain works, that she didn't believe that. So she took her own path and her own journey. And, you know, now she has like this huge following and she's helping a lot of parents. And I just listened to this podcast that she put out with a PhD doctor who had ties to, I think, like MIT or some Ivy League school. And this doctor had really, like, completely in my mind, like, found a link between glyphosate and autism. That was her passion. You know, she wanted to understand and know why the rate of autism was rising so intensively and so quickly. And in her research, she found, you know, not only how it breaks down the microbiome of the gut and contributes to heavy metals in the brains, but also with the jabs, they use, I think it, like bovine fetal cells or something like that. And those come from cows or pigs that are fed a diet that is heavily genetically modified corn, wheat, and soy, and is very heavily sprayed in glyphosate. And then she even goes on to establish a link between how the glyphosate builds up in your bone marrow. And your bone marrow is where like your lymph and white blood cells come from. And that is linked to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is crazy. Like I've got to like share this with like my friends who are, you know, reaching out to me for help with their children who have autism. And then I looked at the date of the podcast and it's like she just sent it out in an email again, I guess, but it was done in 2017. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like how have we had this information for 5 years and still nothing is being done about it? Like I am like the biggest crusader against glyphosate. I've been
You guys, if you have not read this book, I highly recommend it. And also, if anyone wants to get theirs or their children's glyphosate levels tested, reach out to me. I have access to that testing from Great Plains Laboratory. It can definitely be eye-opening. I luckily was very low because I eat predominantly, you know, organic foods, you know, high quality protein sources, but this stuff is in everything. It's really, and it's horrible for our health. It's literally poisoning not only our bodies, it's poisoning the animals, it's poisoning the wildlife, it's poisoning the ground, the water. It's killing off the bees, the helpful, beneficial pollinators, the butterflies. I mean, if we continue letting them pour this crap all over the place, we're not going to have any food left. But I think that's kind of how the, you know, the elites want it. They want us eating all this franken food, garbage stuff so that, you know, we're easily controllable and, you know, not healthy. Jill said, for one, she said she heard 1 in 4. So I think that statistic, that sounds a little bit right. I mean, that's still scary.
Too much. Still too much as it is.
Yeah, 1 in 4. I mean, yeah, I mean, a lot of people have 4 kids, you know, so right. That is not an uncommon family size. So one of them is going to be diagnosed with autism, and we have doctors and scientists telling us that they don't know or they don't understand why. You know, it's because we are destroying our environment, our ecosystem, our planet. 90% of conventional wheat, corn, and soy in the United States is heavily sprayed in glyphosate, not only during the growing process, but right before it's harvested, because it helps to dry it out and it serves as a preservative. And the government doesn't even care about this. They're not doing any lab tests or anything like that. Yeah, it's all like independent organizations like Moms Across America, I know, has just recently done a study on like chickpeas, and that's something they say you should
Super
always buy
high.
organic.
Yep, super high in
Yes,
glyphosate. And
high.
I think so. I'm gluten free. Chris is gluten free as well. And I honestly think that part of it was glyphosate was my problem, that contributed to my leaky gut, that contributed to the multiple food sensitivities. I can't, even organic wheat now I can't, have, but I also can't do chickpeas. And I was like, oh, that's such a bummer because I love hummus and stuff. And then I found out they're one of the most heavily sprayed foods with glyphosate. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's why I can no longer have chickpeas.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Like I'm the same. We've been gluten free for about 2.5 years as we were trying to let our bodies heal. And the more I learn about glyphosate, I'm like, okay, so I don't think it was a problem with gluten. I think that it was a problem with that chemical. So I just started reintroducing organic bread into my diet once in a great while, minimally, because I still don't think, it's a food that you want to be
Not high
eating
in nutrients, right? Yeah.
with. Yeah, exactly.
It's not that great for us.
Yeah, yeah. But, organic bread does not seem to cause the distress in my digestive system that I used to experience.
Yeah, that's my mom. That's interesting because she just bought like a bunch of organic wheat berries, and they went pretty much gluten free. She didn't really need to, but she did it to support my stepdad and his gut healing journey. And she noticed that when she cheated, she started having these digestive issues, and she's like, "I didn't have this before I went gluten free." And I'm like, "Well, it's because it's causing this inflammatory response in your body." So she bought some organic wheat berries and started hand grinding her own flour, and she's been
Those are
making
really good.
bread and
Yeah.
pizza dough with it. And they seem to all be doing really fine with it. No digestive issues at all. She goes, "I want you to try it." But I'm like so scared because I'm like, oh man, like I'd have to have a whole day where I like don't have anything to do, where I could just eat, try the bread and see. Because I'm so scared because of the way now if I like accidentally get gluten, I mean like I feel horrible. And it's like three
Yeah.
days. It's like headache, digestive issues, brain fog, muscle joint pain. Like it's just not a pleasant thing. So I'm like, all right, maybe I'll try it when we go visit over the holidays and I just have a day where I where I don't have anything to do just in case.
Yeah.
Really,
That,
really crazy, how
yeah,
it
that's
affects.
funny. I did. Yeah, I did the same thing. Like the first time I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and see if I could have like a half a sandwich. That's one piece of organic bread. And it was the day where I was like, okay, I don't have anything planned today or tomorrow, just in case, just to be safe. And I think like the next like 2 or 3 times after that, still, I was like, okay, I'm not going to mess with it unless I know I don't have anything important scheduled for a day or two. And, luckily I've been okay. But I think as we start to like cut this horrible food from our diet, so many of us who have lived with chronic health issues and lived with digestive issues where we just live in this constant state of pain and discomfort, and we don't have the awareness because, on the rare occasion, like I ate bread with every meal. I was always thin and I thought that there was, no drawbacks to it. And I had even I rant and rave about this all the time. I had spoken to Tristan's developmental pediatrician about concerns I had specifically about bread when he was not even 2 years old. And I said, he's got a pretty good diet. He'll eat salmon, he'll eat chicken, but everything I have to feed him on a piece of bread. Do you think 3 pieces of bread in a day is too much for a 2-year-old? He's like, no, I don't think that matters. He's getting the nutrition he needs. I think he's doing fine. So, just crazy, crazy, crazy.
I don't know
But
about nutrition. And yeah, Jill
yeah,
has been enjoying this talk here. Yeah, they don't make money, right? Yeah. And then she talked about Zach Bush does some work against glyphosate as well. Yeah, I've heard and she agrees with the gluten and the glyphosate. Also, I know that this has been such a great, amazing conversation, and like, thank you so much for sharing your story and being so vulnerable. And I think that this could just give hope to so many moms, out there struggling like you were just a few years ago. There is hope, there is help, and that's just so amazing. I know we're going to talk about, can we just talk about for a few minutes, like in terms of just everyday like chronic illnesses, because you've been in the group for a while, you see all these people asking all these questions about different things. So where can energy healing come into the equation with dealing with some of these conditions that people have?
Yeah, definitely. I think, energy healing is really like a core component of any type of mind, body, spirit healing. We want to be grounded in the present moment. So many people dealing with chronic illness are holding some sort of trauma, oftentimes like subconsciously. We're not even aware of it. 85 to 90% of our brain is the subconscious mind. So it's things that we've picked up over time, often during our childhood. And very simple way to kind of escape from like discomfort and pain is by eating. We take a lot of comfort in our favorite foods. So through grounding and working with the root chakra, oftentimes you're able to eliminate that need. And then by working with the solar plexus chakra, so that's your center for willpower and manifestation, you're able to work with the belief and the desire that your body can heal, your body wants to heal, your child is going to heal, and send out that positive vibration. And we know through the law of attraction, our thoughts will bring back in, whatever we're thinking, whether it be something positive or something negative. I feel like working with the heart chakra and the divine love that we all have access to. Our heart chakra is where heaven and earth meets within our body. So it's a very powerful center. I think this is especially effective when I work with moms primarily, but I'm definitely open to working with dads if they're ever interested. But when I work with other mothers who are on a healing journey, really like tapping into that heart chakra and the love that they feel for their children, and just like amplifying all of the vibrations of the energy work. And then, also just balancing and cleansing all the chakras is just so important to living a healthy and well-balanced life. And I feel like where like one of my specialties really comes in is intuitively, I'm kind of able to listen to a person's story or whatever they're struggling with and identify chakras and areas of their body where they're holding trauma and help them to release it, because each chakra corresponds to different parts of your physical body. Each chakra can correspond to different organs, your circulatory system, respiratory system, whatever, they're all interconnected. So, like I said in the beginning, it was like a core component of Tristan's healing, a core component of my healing. And I just highly recommend it to anybody looking for just any type of relief from any sort of problematic symptoms. It's very, very effective in kind of thrusting you forward on your path. Not like a single Reiki session is going to heal you and fix all your problems, but it's definitely going to give you the boost you need to kind of take back your power and, step into where you're meant to be in your journey, because we're not meant to live with chronic illness. Our bodies are not meant to break down. We all have our own innate ability to heal. We just need to provide the right environment and the right conditions through nutrition, detoxification, and whatever type of spiritual healing resonates with you.
Absolutely. I love that. I know that energy healing has been super important in my journey. And, and I tell my clients, that too, we want to start with nourishing the physical body, right? We've got to cut out the garbage foods. We've got to start, eating lots of fresh foods, healthy foods, good fats, quality proteins, lots of, organic fruits and vegetables. Move your body, get outside, spend time in nature, stretch, do some yoga, meditate, calm yourself. But then there's like that component, right? And like I was there, I had made all this progress and I was, working out and eating healthy. And there was still just, something that I was unable to heal from. And it was a lot of childhood trauma, growing up with an addict father and things like that. And it really like affected me, and, limiting beliefs and all of those things. And that energy healing has just really, changed who I am, and put me on the path that I'm on. And it's just so beneficial. I think that everybody needs energy healing. I know we talked about this the other day with Marty last week. I'm like, if we just like do some like massive like distance Reiki for the whole world, I think we'd be like a lot better off. Like a lot of people, a lot of people need it. We all have our own stuff, and it can just really be the thing that if something's holding you back right now and you've made these changes and you're still like unable to sustain these changes, or like I mean, how many people go on a diet and then they gain the weight back, or they, like why is that? Maybe there's an underlying trauma, like Anne talked about with the solar plexus chakra and like our willpower, right? Like maybe there's something there and you just don't have the willpower to sustain those changes. So no matter what you do, if your subconscious mind is not listening to your conscious mind, they're like, no, 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 like we're not doing that. You're going to have a really hard, time. So it's like rewiring those thoughts and, changing those patterns, and it can be really beneficial.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm so happy to hear how the energy healing made a difference in your life. And it seems like anybody who branches out and tries it, it becomes a core component of their healing journey, right? Like it's mind, body, spirit healing. You need all three of them to lead a happy, healthy life free from unnecessary suffering. In my opinion, it's been my journey, the journey of my family, and the journey of everybody that I seem to be connecting with.
Yeah, I love that. And I just thank you so much, Anne, for being so vulnerable, for sharing your story, for, giving other parents in the group hope. I really hope that this just, helps a ton of people. How can people work with you?
So right now I am offering actually an energy healing journey, which includes an oracle or tarot read, and for my own intuition and guidance on the journey. And then it includes a Reiki energy healing session that I actually combine with a channeled guided meditation. It can be done like live distance, over the phone, Zoom, or I can do it as a recording for somebody who, doesn't have that free time in the day. I know as like a busy mother, it's often easier for me to do things at like 9 o'clock at night when my kids are asleep. And I feel that the channeled meditation really helps my clients to get into a very calm and relaxed state where they're best able to receive the healing energy. And I also am branching out now to work with parents of autistic children through medical intuitive services. So it's like an hour-long phone call where I'll just receive channeled messages, channeled guidance about different types of dietary changes that they can use, supplements, and also like empowering and educating a little bit about energy healing for children and how parents can do that themselves based upon whatever resonates with them. You know, if they're interested in like learning about the chakras or learning about crystals. Crystals are just so super effective. Like I've always just thought like, oh, they're like a little tool that, you know, makes me like feel more spiritual. But now actually learning about the science behind them and how they're used in Chinese medicine and like reading these incredible studies where just like using crystals and Reiki alone can make tumors disappear. Like that's becoming like one of my like areas that I'm passionately interested in. So, yeah, I'm definitely like newer in my journey. So I don't have like a website or anything set up yet, but it's very easy to connect with me on Facebook. I'm going to be posting a lot in the upcoming days, upcoming weeks. I'm going to actually start a Zoom group for parents who are on a healing journey with their autistic children. I'm hoping to launch that at some point next week. So the best I could say is just reach out to me, send me a friend request, send me a private message, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. I love that.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
Go
you
ahead,
both
Chris.
so much for having me. This has just been a beautiful conversation. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Thank you.
Did you have something to ask her, Chris?
I just wanted to say, yeah, I just want to say thank you. And like you were saying a couple minutes ago, Brittany, we're whole beings, and that's not putting it lightly, obviously. But like you're mentioning, you start up with the foods, so that's going to support the system, support the detoxification process, and everything. But that's one part of the equation. There's one piece of the puzzle, one piece of the pie in a sense. And we've talked about this many times, not to emphasize it too much, but we can eat the best foods, take the best supplements, feel like doing everything right, but we need to support the whole person. Our traumas, our emotions play such a big freaking role that if we're not feeling whole, if we're not feeling connected in relationships, community, etc., those foods and supplements are only going to do so good. And even exercise is good too, but it's a whole puzzle.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got off my soapbox.
Absolutely. If you guys are watching or you're watching the replay and you want to connect with Anne, I will be, as soon as this is over, I'll be tagging her in this so you can reach out, message her directly, send her a friend request, get to see more of her story. I've been really enjoying posts. I'm glad you decided to stop your hiatus from social media and kind of just share, because your journey is so powerful and it's really amazing. And I feel that you're going to just help so many people. And I'm so happy that you're part of our group. And thank you again so much for coming and sharing so much value and sharing your story and being vulnerable.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been an incredible journey, and I'm so grateful that I found this group. You know, it was a huge component of the confidence I needed to take the steps in the right direction. So thank you both for creating it. Thank you both for having me. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I feel like this has just been like an incredible conversation, and I really hope that it inspires other parents or other people struggling with chronic illness to really take the next steps forward on their healing journey.
Absolutely. Thanks everyone so much. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Bye.
Bye.